Welcome back to the channel, America, land of the free, home of the brave, and where you can deep fry anything, including your hopes of a simple immigration process. The US is a nation of immigrants, but that melting pot comes with some serious state-sized caveats. Are there states where immigrants are outright banned? Not exactly. But some states have made life so difficult it's almost the same thing. Today we're taking a road trip through the states with the harshest restrictions, where just existing can feel like an obstacle course. Buckle up, hit subscribe, and let's dive into the real cost of freedom for immigrants in America. First stop, Florida, the state known for its endless sunshine, beautiful beaches, and vibrant cities. But beneath the golden rays and palm trees, there's a much darker reality lurking in the shadows. Here, the laws cast a long, chilling shadow that stretches across the entire state, touching the lives of millions. Florida's Senate Bill 1718 is a masterclass in making life miserable for immigrants, targeting them at every turn with harsh new restrictions. If you're undocumented and hold an out-of-state driver's license, it's now instantly invalid the moment you cross into Florida. What was once a simple drive becomes a legal minefield. Cross the state line and you're suddenly a criminal for doing something as basic as driving to work or taking your kids to school. Businesses with 25 or more employees are now forced to use E-Verify, a system infamous for its glitches and errors, to check every new hire's immigration status, no matter how long they've lived or worked in the community. One typo, one computer glitch, and you could lose your job overnight, even if you're legally allowed to work. Hospitals that accept Medicaid are now required to ask about immigration status on intake forms, making a visit to the doctor a source of anxiety and fear for many families. Emergency care isn't denied, but the fear of being reported or questioned keeps people away, creating a public health risk that affects everyone, not just immigrants. The law goes even further, making it a felony to knowingly transport undocumented people into the state, even if they're your own family. That means driving your child to a doctor's appointment or helping a neighbor get to work could land you in jail and tear families apart. It criminalizes basic decency, turning good Samaritans into potential felons and making people think twice before helping others in need. Yet, Florida's economy, especially agriculture and construction, relies heavily on immigrant labor. These are the people who pick the crops, build the homes, and keep businesses running. After this law took effect, fields went unpicked, construction sites emptied, and local businesses suffered as workers and their families left in droves. Families fled the state, packing up their lives and leaving behind empty homes, vacant jobs, and a sense of loss in the communities they once called home. The law didn't build a wall, instead it hollowed out communities from within, leaving neighborhoods quieter and businesses shuttered. The justification? Lawmakers claim they're cracking down on illegal immigration to protect the state, but the reality is far different. These laws punish people who are already here, working hard, paying taxes, and contributing to Florida's success. It's a sledgehammer approach that doesn't just target immigrants. It damages the entire state, hurting businesses, families, and the economy. Florida's message is clear. Your labor is wanted, but you are not. The people who helped build the state are being pushed out. The forecast for immigrants in the Sunshine State? Dark and stormy, with a high chance of deportation and a future clouded by fear and uncertainty for all. Next up, Texas, where everything's bigger, including the crackdown on immigrants. The Lone Star State has always prided itself on doing things its own way, but lately, that independent streak has taken a sharp turn. Texas is now at the center of a heated national debate, pushing the boundaries of what states can do when it comes to immigration enforcement. Texas's Senate Bill 4 gives local police the power to arrest anyone they suspect of being undocumented. Not federal agents, local cops. This means that everyday police officers, who are supposed to protect and serve their communities, are now being asked to act as immigration enforcers, blurring the line between local law enforcement and federal immigration duties. A broken taillight could turn into an immigration interrogation. Suddenly, a routine traffic stop or a minor infraction can escalate into a life-altering event. This opens the door to racial profiling and abuse of power, as officers may rely on appearance or language to make snap judgments about someone's status. SB 4 also creates a new state crime for illegal entry and lets Texas judges order deportations, something only the federal government is supposed to do. This is a dramatic shift, giving state judges unprecedented authority over immigration cases and raising serious questions about due process and constitutional rights. The result? Legal chaos. Federal courts say one thing, state courts another. Immigrant families are left in limbo, never knowing what law will apply tomorrow. Lawyers scramble to keep up with shifting rules, and communities are left confused and anxious, unsure where to turn for help or protection. Trust between immigrant communities and police is shattered. Victims and witnesses are afraid to call for help, making everyone less safe. When people fear that any interaction with law enforcement could lead to deportation, crimes go unreported, and neighborhoods become more vulnerable to violence and exploitation. Texas's Operation Lone Star, razor wire, buoys, and billions spent has created headlines, lawsuits, and a humanitarian crisis, but little real change. The state pours resources into dramatic displays of force, but the underlying issues remain unresolved, and the border remains a flashpoint for political battles. The human cost is immense. Families live in constant fear, and daily life becomes a minefield. Children worry about their parents being taken away, and entire communities are gripped by anxiety, never knowing when the next knock on the door could change everything. SB 4's fate bounces through the courts, but the damage is done. Texas is building its own immigration enforcement system, regardless of the Constitution or consequences. The legal battles may continue for years, but the impact on real people is immediate and profound. It's a dangerous experiment, and the people caught in the middle pay the price. As Texas forges ahead, the rest of the country watches closely, wondering if this is the future of immigration policy or a warning of what not to do. Now, Arizona, the original testing ground for anti-immigrant laws. In 2010, Arizona passed SB 1070, the infamous Show Me Your Papers law. Police could demand proof of citizenship from anyone they stopped. The result? Widespread fear, racial profiling, and a collapse of trust between police and immigrant communities. The economic fallout was immediate: boycotts, canceled conventions, and billions lost. Arizona became a national cautionary tale, but the deepest scars were social. Parents feared taking their kids outside. Small businesses in immigrant neighborhoods lost customers overnight. Children, many U.S. citizens, grew up traumatized, watching their families live in fear. Even after the Supreme Court struck down key parts of SB 1070, the damage lingered. Suspicion and hostility became normalized. Arizona's law inspired copycats across the country, fueling a decade of harsh state-level policies. The lesson: these laws don't just target undocumented immigrants, they harm entire communities, economies, and generations. Arizona's story is a warning. Codifying fear into law leaves a legacy of division and trauma that's hard to undo. To understand today's anti-immigrant laws, look to the past: Alabama and Oklahoma. In 2011, Alabama passed HB 56, the strictest immigration law in the nation. Schools had to check students' immigration status, turning principals into border agents. The law made it a crime to rent to undocumented immigrants, causing a housing crisis overnight. It criminalized helping friends, neighbors, or church members. Basic acts of kindness became felonies. The result: economic chaos, agricultural losses, and a climate of fear. Oklahoma's HB 1804, passed in 2007, was an early attempt to use state law to create a hostile environment, making it a felony to transport or harbor undocumented immigrants and restricting public benefits. These laws didn't appear out of nowhere. They often arise during economic downturns when politicians look for scapegoats. The pattern is clear. Laws justified as security measures end up inflicting cruelty and exclusion, especially on the most vulnerable. Racial profiling is baked in. Reasonable suspicion becomes a license to target Latino communities. Florida and Texas aren't inventing new ideas. They're repeating a failed, destructive playbook that's haunted state legislatures for decades. So is anyone fighting back? Absolutely. Across the country, resistance is growing stronger every day, fueled by people who refuse to accept injustice as the status quo. For every harsh law, there's a coalition of lawyers, activists, and community members pushing back. These groups come together from all walks of life, united by a shared belief in fairness and human dignity. The main battleground is the courts, where legal teams work tirelessly to challenge discriminatory policies and defend the rights of immigrants. Groups like the ACLU and National Immigration Law Center challenge these laws as unconstitutional, arguing that only the federal government can set immigration policy. Their legal expertise and relentless advocacy have become a lifeline for those targeted by new restrictions. Supreme Court precedent, like the 2012 Arizona v. United States case, backs them up. That landmark decision reaffirmed the federal government's authority over immigration, setting important limits on what states can do. Legal battles are long and grueling, often stretching on for years, but they're crucial for protecting millions of people. Every court victory sets a precedent, making it harder for unjust laws to take root elsewhere. On the ground, advocacy groups run Know Your Rights workshops, organize protests, and lobby lawmakers. They empower immigrants with information, mobilize communities, and keep the pressure on elected officials to do the right thing. They put real faces to the statistics, reminding politicians that these laws have devastating human consequences. Behind every policy are families, children, and dreams at risk of being shattered. Immigrant communities show resilience, building mutual aid networks, sharing resources, and supporting each other. These grassroots efforts help families survive tough times and foster a sense of belonging, even in the face of adversity. Even businesses are speaking out, warning that these laws hurt the economy by driving away essential workers. Farmers, restaurant owners, and small business leaders know that immigrants are vital to their success and to the nation's prosperity. Sanctuary cities and counties push back by limiting cooperation with federal immigration enforcement, creating pockets of relative safety. These local policies offer hope and protection, showing that communities can choose compassion over fear. The fight is ongoing, with victories and setbacks, but the persistence of advocates is unwavering. Every march, every lawsuit, and every story shared brings the movement closer to justice. They're fighting for the soul of the country, and for the promise that America can be a nation of welcome, not exclusion. The struggle continues, but hope endures, fueled by the courage and determination of those who believe in a better future for all. So, what's next? No state has a literal, "No immigrants allowed" sign, but the reality is just as harsh for many. Laws in states like Florida and Texas have turned daily life into a high-stakes gamble for immigrants. These policies aren't about security. They're about politics and scapegoating, no matter the human or economic cost. The fight continues in courts and communities, shaping the future of the country. Laws have real consequences, and behind every debate are real people seeking a better life. If you found this video informative, hit subscribe, share your thoughts below, and stay engaged. Thanks for watching. See you next time.